Good morning, everybody. Welcome to No Bull with Bryan and our kickoff show. I'm really excited to get things started here on a Thursday at 8 a.m. Friends, family, first timers, I'm glad to see you all joining in on this live broadcast. Don't forget to tell your friends and family, share, like, do everything you can. We want to get the word out there. We want to educate people on their finances, investments, strategies. What are their struggles? What are their successes? I want to hear them all. This is really where we're going to talk to real people about their real struggles and their real successes in life. And what better way to start it off than I'm going to actually bring my parents on, and they're going to talk a little bit about how they started out and the business that they started and where they're at today. So should be an interesting time for everybody. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get when you get Phil and Chris and myself in the room. I can attest to many Thanksgiving dinners that were always exciting. So we'll see where this goes. Wanted to remind you, we're on the Wake Up to the Vibe Network. Go check out all the other special things that are going on. Joe's got his Wake Up to the Vibe show tomorrow, 7 a.m. Keith is actually starting a sports talk show tomorrow, TGI Sports Talk. That is at 8 a.m. on Fridays now. So check that out if you're a big sports fan. Going to be great stuff. I've seen what's coming up. It looks amazing. So now I am going to bring my parents on. But before I do that, again, our next guest for next Thursday, 8 a.m., just a little teaser. We're actually going to have a Russian female power lifter that actually opened her own personal training business here in the United States. So her name is Katya Gorbacheva. I'm excited to talk with her and hear her whole story coming to the United States, as well as just starting her business here. So it's going to be exciting. And remember, one thing, the only bull that we see on this show is when there's a bull market. So anything you hear that you think just isn't right or is out of line, you let me know in the comments and we'll call it out as some bull. So with that, I am going to bring on my guests for the day. It's Phil and Chris Piccirillo. Here they come. Hey, Mom and Dad, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So you are live across the entire world right now.
Right.
So welcome to coming out of little Podunk Fallsby to become world famous at this point. The first thing I really want to hear from you guys, and I'm sure my audience wants to hear, is just tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, your upbringing, kind of what you were doing before you opened your own business.
I'll start. I'm a nurse. I've always been a nurse, always wanted to be a nurse. Worked hard all our lives to struggle as, working middle class. And one working had a dream one night and decided to open a assisted living facility. Did the financial planning, did the market study for a year, looked at it, and went to the bank. And we were fortunate at that point in time that money was easily accessible to middle class. The banks had opened up, so we were able to get money to build a business with my husband and your dad, Phil, being laid off from the mill, which nowadays is virtually impossible. So we were in the right place at the right time. That was 28 years ago, and we've been running the business ever since. But of course, a lot of that time, your dad and I, for a fact, were also working another job. So we both worked full-time jobs and ran a business at the same time, which was tough, but we were able to do it. And I'll hand it over to your dad. He can tell you about his background.
I worked 32 years. My name's Phil. I worked 32 years in a steel mill, which it seemed like every 3 years they were talking about filing bankruptcy and so on and so forth. So you always wondered whether you were going to get enough years to get a pension. So I was able to manage to stay in the mill for 32 years. And at that time, when we decided to open a business, they were offering buyouts. So I signed up for a buyout, which I received. And part of the buyout was that the company would give me $2,000 a month for every month service I had, which amounted to $60,000, which we were, I was able to get out of the mill and help my wife with her business, in which I take care of the tax stuff and payroll and all that, because actually I had 5 years of college at West Virginia University and West Liberty University.
Plugging WVU, huh, already.
Oh,
So tell us a little bit about Golden Oaks too, as far as what it is and what it represents to you guys.
Golden Oaks is an assisted living facility, 19 beds. In West Virginia, the laws are a little bit different. Assisted living is not typical. It's people can stay there till the end of their lives. So you're looking at long-term care. You're not looking at just temporary care until one declines, which is a great concept in West Virginia because it's more difficult for people to transition to changing environments as you get older. So this works quite well. We value the quality of life, and that's what we try to do. We try to keep it as home-like as possible. It's very family-centered, patient care-centered, and we've built a reputation on that in the community. Being a small community and a small area in the tri-state area, word of mouth is your best or your worst advertising. Fortunately, we have developed a good reputation, and our referrals are high, and we do not have to advertise. And over 28 years, we've never had to advertise, which is, I take it that we're doing the job that we're supposed to be doing.
Nice. So let's rewind the clock then on this. Yeah, let's rewind the clock and let's talk about, you've definitely hit on some really good points about planning, strategy, making sure you had a plan together to open a business. So was that reflected in your childhood? So what money lessons did you guys learn in your childhood, or what was money like in your upbringing?
I'll let Dad start.
Well, when I was 12 years old, my parents got divorced. So I started out, I got a paper route, delivered papers, made some money on it, learned how to save. Then I went to work for the state road when I was 16 under a youth program. And then after that, when I hit 18, I got a job bagging groceries at a grocery store. So by doing those 3 jobs, I learned the value of $1. And one of the experience in my life that showed me how important it was one of my sisters who lived in Nevada found herself in financial problems, and she needed help with some money. And at 15 years old, I was the only one in the family that was able to help her out, because I valued the $1 and I was able to save.
I already hear the phone ringing right now from all our family calling. So we've started. Everybody wants to know we have now started a strife between family right here live on the air. So for the world to see. And we've got people from Maryland. We've got David from New York. We've got Marianne from Maryland. We've got people everywhere listening. So you're definitely going worldwide. How about you, Mom?
How you paid him back? How he got paid back for the money?
Remember? How's that?
She moved back to the area, and then she was able to pay. She got a job and was able to pay me back.
I thought she bought you tires. No. That was another story for another time.
Welcome to West Virginia, everybody, where tires will pay off a debt.
It's the barter system.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in that. What?
How about your upbringing, Mom? I know you've got a different upbringing when it comes to money and what your family was like.
We started out pretty much the same as Dad did. I came from my family was military, and my parents divorced when I was 6. We came back to West Virginia from California and lived with my grandparents. Great life with my grandparents. Much better than I probably would have had with the relationship that was going on with my parents. But I started working at 12. I scrubbed floors for the lady down the street. When I was 12, I scrubbed and waxed her floor every week, and she gave me $1 and a ham sandwich. And I like the ham sandwich better than I like the $1. So that kind of like says about my idea about money. Money never really was important to me. I like to have it, but and I value money, but it just wasn't one of those things that I cared about. When we got married, I would overdraw all the time on the checking account, because my idea of what money was if there were enough checks, there was money. So as long as I had checks in the checkbook, I could write. So Dad, of course, we fought concept because he was a control freak with me, and me, I was like, the ham sandwich was more important than the money.
Yeah.
So,
well, but you worked hard though, if I'm not mistaken, because you had to pay for college all yourself. That you were actually working at Dairy Owl to pay for college. Isn't that where you and Dad met, or where you ruined his automobile, or wasn't that the ice cream cone on the Cadillac?
Inside the car? Yeah, pretty much. No, we met at a graduation party. The ice cream incident in the Cadillac was an opportunity for him to get out of this relationship. He chose to stay, and he's been mad at me ever since, and I've been fighting with him ever since because.
So 45 years of a great
and what I'm hearing too is, it sounds like there's some life lessons. It's important young to understand what money means and how to handle it, because it definitely impacts how you handle it today. Which is, a lesson that I think everybody can learn with their kids that they have of, teach them some basic concepts, teach them some understanding, because it's going to carry on for the next 45, 50 years on how they handle the money. So let's talk about and I'll preface this with saying,
as far as kids or
as far as teaching your kids, yeah. So let's talk about kind of some of your biggest accomplishments in life. So what do you feel are kind of the biggest accomplishments outside of having me, of course? And what are some struggles that you've kind of had on your journey through Golden Oaks?
Biggest accomplishments is that we have been able to make a retirement plan for ourselves. We've worked hard. We've worked continuously. We've been generous, and we still, at this point in our lives, are able to be able to enjoy, we hope, retirement. With having made the investments and having worked hard enough to put the money away and do those kind of things. And of course, my children come first in my accomplishments. That goes without saying. I would pick that over the money any day. So Golden Oaks has been good to us, and we've been good to it. We try not to gouge people. We could have probably made a lot more money. We choose not to. We are truly family oriented. That's our goal, and that's where we will continue to always stay.
So what advice then, kind of switching gears here, what advice can you give to those that are looking at starting a business or just started a business, as far as What, wisdom can you give? Like you said, you've been doing it for so long, and it was off of a dream and a plan. Share us some insight.
Well, what financial insight would be is you should always have at least 6 months to a year put aside, where if the business didn't take off right away, you would have enough time, enough money to get through the hard times. And the good thing about that is like she is a nurse, and when she was working as a nurse, she was putting money into a 401k, which her employer matched up to 6%. So she was able to accumulate enough money as like a safety valve for in case we had to dig into her money to make the business go, which we never had to do because she ran such a good business.
So I will tell you, there are more conscious ways to do it than take it out of your 401k. There are tax implications to that as well as penalties. Keep that in mind. But I think that's definitely a good point of having enough funds saved up to get you through the rough patches, depending on what your business is. That may be 6 months, that may be 2 years. But your business can't survive if you can't pay your bills. And you've got to prepare for it. If you're going through the worst case scenario, how are you going to pay those bills?
Absolutely right.
How about you, Mom? Anything you want to add to that?
Hard work. It's tough. It's tough to run a business. Most people sink everything, every dime they have in their pensions and their life savings and their payroll into a business. And if it doesn't work, the problem is it fails. You need to go in with a plan. You cannot just decide because you wanted to, because you had a dream. You wanted to open a business. You've got to look at it from all kinds of aspects. You've got to be you've got to be prepared that, as the banker told me, and everybody told me and kept telling me, most businesses fail within the first 5 years. So when we were going into it, and we did the market studies and we did the cost analysis and things like that, we were prepared. And I knew I wasn't going to fail. I knew that I was going to work hard enough and I was going to have that market study. But I can tell you, very few people believed in that dream. Very few people. And Dad and I had convinced him wholeheartedly. The guys in the mill actually convinced Phil to do it. Your dad. He wasn't going for it. And I was adamant, and no matter how much I talked to him about it, and then finally the guys in the mill, his buddies, when they talked to him and said, Phil, this looks like a good idea. And 28 years later, it was a good idea.
What nicknames did they have? Was it like Cappy and I'm sure they all had nicknames, right?
Yeah, everybody had a nickname.
No, that's great advice though. You have a dream and you have an inspiration, and you don't want to suppress that, but also you have to have a plan to accomplishment. And I think those are the two keys: is you had the dream, but you also had the plan, and that's why it worked so well for you guys.
Right. That's right.
So let's get into some more of the fun stuff. We got through the business portion of it. We're talking an Italian family, and I know my family well, so we're going to talk casino and gambling. So favorite casino game, both of you, and go.
Phil.
I got two favorite games. I love to play blackjack, which I've read books on, and I love to play the machines, Keno, on the gambling machines. At one time, I really enjoyed them because as along with the business we had here, I was also a partner in a casino gambling establishment, which I did for 5 years. And me and my partner sold it, and now I'm strictly with my wife in her business. But those are the two games I like: blackjack and machine play.
I'm different than Dad, and you know that. We are polar opposites. Dad goes for the odds. He looks at how to make money. Me, I just like to play for entertainment. So the money doesn't matter to me. I go with a particular amount of money. If I spend it, I spend it. And if I win, that's more money for me to go back. Dad looks at the odds, and he always has, and he goes for those odds. He won't play a game if the odds aren't high enough for him to win.
So now, do you guys bet differently when you are ahead versus behind?
Well, me, like I'll start off with playing blackjack. Say I'll start off and say $10 a hand. If I start winning, I'll up it to maybe 25 a hand. If I'm losing, I'll never go above the 10. I may drop my bet. But just as a little bit of information for your listeners, so like I said, I read books on gambling and stuff, and they always tell you that if you're a blackjack player, you should never sit at a table more than an hour, because if you do, if you're winning, the cards will always turn against you. So that's a little bit of advice I'll give in the gambling field.
It's always the odds. It's
Mhm.
always the odds.
Yeah. So, and it's the same in investing. You've got to understand what that risk versus reward is in whatever you're doing in investing as well, and understand how your emotions can sometimes dictate how you gamble or how you invest. Obviously, when you're up, sometimes you might get a little bit looser with your money, and then all of a sudden it disappears. Like you're saying, you got to know when to walk away, when to protect some of that if you're up, and when you're down, it's understanding, playing the odds or whatever that may be, or understanding how do I get back to where I was before. So there was a hidden agenda there for me, but I'm glad you guys rode with it and were able to answer it. And I knew you guys would definitely have answers for that. Wrapping it up into our final two questions I'm going to ask you today. One is, give me a piece of advice that you got at some point that now you know is completely wrong. And what's the best piece of advice you guys got financially?
Piece of advice that was completely wrong,
or you thought was the right way to do something, and you later on found out later in life, I probably should have done it a different way.
I don't know. I think we did everything.
Well, me, I guess I could answer that. Before you became a financial advisor, I used to keep a lot of my money in a safety deposit box because I didn't trust the government, actually. And you convinced me that, Dad, you were just, letting money just slip through your hands. So you convinced me to use my money and invest it, which was really a good decision on my part. Because I thought about burying it in the backyard, but I would probably have forgotten where I put it.
I'm sure there's still some back there somewhere.
But now it's all invested.
I have a hard time thinking about anything that was making wrong decisions. Decisions are decisions for me. And then you just make sure you don't make that same wrong decision again. So you learn from it. If you make a mistake, figure out that, hey, I made a mistake, and don't make it again. But life's been good. So all these things are good.
All right. And then finally, I'm going to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it. And because I know you both are opinionated on this, what are your thoughts on the current economy and market?
Oh, I'm afraid. I am really concerned about the length of time that we are pulling money out, giving money away, and closing the economy down. It's concerning for me, not for now, because we seem to have money that we're throwing all around all over the place. But I think in future generations, this is going to be a really difficult time, and we're just going to have to dig our way out of this. As Americans, we will dig our way out of this, and we will figure it out. We are good. We're resilient. We can figure this out, but it's just very chaotic right now. It's very distressful. but we'll figure it out.
Well, my philosophy is not getting into the, I don't know what side of the political aisle you're on, but my philosophy is the president we have now has really done well with the market and for people that have invested. And I would just like to see it continue for another 4 years. It's helped out financially.
Yeah. So,
You know,
yeah, and I'd say, just from my standpoint, the economic and data from June is actually really improved. Obviously, things are starting to open back up. It improved at a fast pace. But yeah, I'm kind of in the boat of we're going to see 2 steps forward, 1 step back a lot, right? We're going to see some, and we're seeing that now. We see some ups, and then we'll get a down, and then some more ups, and then another down. But fun fact, and you mentioned politics and who's in office. Here's a quick little stat I looked up before we talked today. If the same parties are the president, that Democrat or Republican, as well as Congress, they saw a 74% positive return in those type of markets. So that means 74% of the time when we had Democratic Congress, Democratic president, or Republican Congress, Republican president, 74% of the time the market actually went up. If there were different parties, so that means Republican president, Democratic Congress, or vice versa, it was actually 81%. We actually saw the markets go up in the following years. So the odds, regardless of who's in office, if we look back again, past results are not indicative of future returns, but the odds look good from that sense of we always saw positive returns regardless of who was in office. So I know everybody's kind of leans on their side of things, and that's all right. But that was a fun fact that I got today. Final question before I let you guys go and wrap up my show. All right, everybody wants to know, who's your favorite, me or Anthony?
Oh, I love you both. I love you both differently. You are complete opposites, but I love you both equally, but in different ways. How's that? Did I cover my butt?
That was a bull answer. I'm sorry. You've violated the rules of my show. I'm going to have to kick you off now. No, but thanks for coming on, both of you. I appreciate taking the time out this morning. I know it's kind of deviated from your normal schedule, but I appreciate everything you guys have done for me over my life. I love you guys both. Can't wait to talk to you. Stay on the line, though. Stay there. I'm going to come back to you after I wrap up my show. We'll talk a little bit more, okay?
Okay.
All right, everybody. So you've got to meet my mom and dad. Great show. Hopefully you picked up some great information from that or learned a little bit something. If you want to know anything about assisted living or residential boarding care, I would say look them up, reach out to Golden Oaks. I know, speaking for my mother, she would be happy to talk you through it. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, don't miss Joe tomorrow morning. I'll wake up to the vibe. He'll start at 7 a.m. sharp. And then we've got Keith with his new sports talk show coming on right after that at 8. It's going to be really exciting. I know he's got a great guest lined up, a very prominent person in the sports world and sports writing. So I look forward to seeing you all next week, Thursday at 8 a.m., where we're actually going to be talking to that Russian powerlifter, Katya, about her journey and her passions. But until then, I will see you next week. Thanks all.